the piano, right? One octave versus another octave. You get basically it give you a replication of the signal at a different frequency, an octave of that frequency. Let's say half. So if I had 20 megahertz or 20 kilohertz, I would get one at 10 kilohertz and one at 30 kilohertz. Okay, that'd be the first order of the harmonic. Okay, then we go, and now the
And we're talking about the smart meter right now.
talking about the smart meter. Yeah, so the switch mode power supply will create these various points in time where they're oscillating at certain frequencies, and typically by the time you get out to the third octave, it's much reduced, and so what you have to watch is the amplitude. So the first order would be the highest amplitude, the second order would be half of that, and then the third order would be half of that. So by the time you get to the third octave, you're basically you mitigated things, but you got to get the first one. Okay, that's done with filtration on the power line. It's the only way to do it. Okay, now you can see advertising all over the place. $100, get a filter, plug it in, now it's gone. Well, those things don't work as well, because what they're doing is they're just taking the spike that's coming in electrically and neutralizing it to the neutral wire. Now, the neutral wire runs through every wire in your house, so it never really got rid of the noise. It just routed it to the neutral wire. Okay. So that the meter you plug in with this plug-in meters you find all over the place for $100 or $200, basically won't see it because it's not measuring that wire. It's only measuring the hot wire. So it won't measure the neutral. So if you put a scope on and measure the neutral, you see all that stuff that was on the black wire now on the neutral wire. It doesn't go away. So you have to mitigate it by what they call syncing the signal. Okay? And so you sync the signal to ground, not to neutral. And you go directly to ground. So there's filters such as the sine tamer and the DNA filters, which do sync to ground. They don't sync to neutral. So they're much more effective. And we have had customers say, even if they went off and bought 30 Stetzer filters and plugged them in every outlet in the house, they don't feel good because it's not getting rid of it. It's putting it on the neutral wire, and so it's still in the house. The DNA is routed to ground directly, so it's down gone. Okay. So the big difference between that and sine tamer and the DNA, they're more effective than any of these little plug-in filters you buy for $100 or $200. Static is another really poor example of the same thing. So the static units are advertised as being much more effective, much more powerful. That's only because the capacitor size is bigger. Still the same concept. It doesn't get rid of it, it just moves it to the neutral wire. In fact, the statics are a little more dangerous because they are electrolytic capacitors, not monolithic capacitors. So monolithic capacitor doesn't matter where the voltage is high or low or what's plus or minus, it'll still work. But electrolytics have a polarity to them. So in a static filter, it takes two capacitors to do the same thing that another filter would only use one. The difference is that they're plus and minus polarity. All it takes is a lightning strike that basically will reverse the polarity and the filters will explode. So while it's advertised this way, that's going to be much more effective. And we talk about reducing your power bill. That's not going to reduce your power bill. Okay? The only way you're going to reduce the power bill is if you take the pulse that we're seeing here on the screen and syncing it to ground, not to neutral.
So, Bill, what do you think all this is here? Obviously, we're both building biologists, we're both electromagnetic radiation specialists, but you're also a 40-year electrical engineer that's done this technology and taught a lot of the BBI members how to use this. What do you think exactly creating all this spiking and almost like it's like shooting at you?
It's coming from what we call nonlinear power supplies. In other words, switch mode power supplies are nonlinear. A linear power supply would not create any of this noise, but linear power supplies cost more money. So that's why you don't see them everywhere. So your Alexa unit, your TV set, smart meter, all that basically uses this switch mode power supply. And so in order to do this, it's like operating a light switch on and off real fast. So if you had the ability to do it, you can go to your light switch in your room and flip it as fast as humanly possible. You will notice the light dims. Okay. So it reduces the voltage. That's what a switch mode power supply is doing, so reducing the voltage so that you can then rectify it to DC. People don't understand, smart meters are not AC devices, they're DC devices. And they have to convert the AC feed into DC, which is where all this noise and all this junk starts to be a problem. The old analog meters had no switch mode power supplies whatsoever in them. They were strictly mechanical, electromechanical. Basically, they used a coil that measured the current going through the house. Didn't measure voltage at all. The new meters measure voltage and amps. So all these little spikes you see here on this particular screen, okay, these are being monitored and counted by the smart meter because it now measures volts and amps.
So yes, all the spikes here, this basically shows that you're going to get a higher utility bill with this new.
There's no question about it.
Anything that's going to be digital, it doesn't matter if it puts out a radio frequency or not. Even a switchable power supply on the digital opt-out meters are still going to be a higher bill, right?
Yep, they will. And here's why. Because it's counting voltage now. The old meters never counted voltage. It was machined into the gears, okay? So it was machined into the gears, so it presumed it was 240 volts. Never measured volts. Now we're measuring volts. And here's how they do it. They measure the highest voltage peak in a 15-minute window.
So we can point this here, if I take a cursor here, and just kind of, I know we can. Okay, why don't you stop that for a second if you could, or there you go, perfect. Do that.
So now you can see.
Now, this house is a little bit mitigated already, but so you're not going to get as high peaks here. But man, what's this flashing like crazy? This is 485 millivolts on A channel, and the B channel is 121 millivolts.
That's what we're worried about, the B channel.
Okay, B channel 121, which is not high, but at least you can see what's going on.
So you see this. So if in the old days, basically before we had smart meters, none of this junk was here. None. Okay.
So you're talking about 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15, 20 years ago, you would not see this red trace whatsoever. It would be flat. Okay.
So your basic, due to your experience, 40 years of electrical engineering experience, also running several hundreds and hundreds of surveys and mitigating several hundreds and hundreds of houses with huge success in a lot of cases. I can verify that. You're saying that this energy here, that Cisco and Wackadoodle here, is coming from the smart meters?
Yes.
And you think also even the non-RF digital meters, this is coming on here. You're seeing this as well, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And would you say that both of these are biologically active?
Yes, they are. Anything above 3 kilohertz is biologically active.
Yeah, because we get a lot of politicians to say, "Oh, my brother-in-law is an engineer, so he says the switchable power supplies are okay." There's a lot of more.
I swear he's never. Any of those people saying this stuff have never seen an oscilloscope trace ever. So they plug in. There's all these plug-in meters you can buy on Amazon for $150, whatever. None of them will show any of this. The only way to see this is with a scope. The only way. Okay, and I'm sorry to say, but you're being deceived. So you have to have something in precision like this to see it. Now, once you know it's there, now you can mitigate this. And so we have filters we can